She fell in love with a beggar. Until she discovered he owned the entire city. That sentence alone could make anyone stop in their tracks, but for Amelia Hart, it was more than words, it was the beginning of something real. Amelia never planned to fall for a stranger, especially a stranger she found sitting alone under a cold Brooklyn bridge. After a 12-hour shift at the pediatric ward, she was exhausted. Her scrubs were wrinkled, her shoes squeaked with every step, and her feet ached in ways that only long hours on hospital floors could cause. All she wanted was a warm shower and her bed, yet life had a way of stopping her when she thought she could escape. The drizzle had left the streets slick, mixing with distant traffic and street food vendors packing up for the night. She was taking her usual long route home, the one she used to clear her mind after stressful shifts, when she saw him. He was sitting on the cold ground, knees pulled up, shoulders hunched, as if the weight of the world pressed down on him. His jacket was damp, his jeans worn, and his hands rested loosely on his knees. People walked past him like he didn't exist. Some glanced, most didn't. But she stopped. Something made her pause. Maybe it was the quiet sadness in his posture, or the way he seemed too tired even to lift his head. Maybe it was instinct. Whatever it was, she found herself stepping closer. "Hey," she said softly, careful not to startle him. "Are you okay?" The man lifted his head slowly. His hair was messy, his beard unshaven. His eyes, though tired, were sharp, deep, and unusual in a way that made her chest tighten. "I'm fine," he said quietly. "You don't need to worry about me." Her chest tightened too. "I know I don't have to," she said, "but I want to." For a moment he just stared at her. Then, hesitantly, he allowed a small, almost shy smile. She reached into her bag and pulled out the warm soup she had bought earlier. She wasn't even hungry anymore, but the thought of sharing something warm felt right. She held it out to him. "Here. It's still warm." He blinked at the soup, then at her. His fingers trembled slightly as he took it. "You didn't have to do this," he said softly. "I wanted to," she replied. He swallowed, and the corners of his mouth lifted faintly. "Thank you?" Amelia felt her heart tug. She had helped people before, plenty of times, but something about him made it different. He wasn't just hungry or cold. He seemed unseen by the world, invisible until her. "Do you have a name?" she asked. He hesitated. Then, "Gray. Just Gray." "I'm Amelia," she said. "Pretty name," he whispered. She blushed lightly. They sat in a comfortable silence, listening to the faint hum of the city, the occasional car passing by, the distant wail of a siren. Gray ate the soup slowly, carefully, as if each bite was a gift. "You look cold," Amelia finally said. "I'll be fine," he replied, but she noticed the shiver in his shoulders. "You don't look fine." A quiet, almost shy laugh escaped him. "Is it that obvious?" "Very," she teased gently. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, there was a spark in his eyes that made her chest warm. "Maybe I'll see you again," she said, standing up and stretching. "I'd like that," he replied softly. The next Friday, she found him waiting in the same spot. He was leaning against the bridge pillar, hands in his pockets, and when he saw her, his face brightened in a way that made her smile. "You came," he said. "I told you I might," she teased. "I thought maybe you wouldn't," he admitted. "Well, I'm full of surprises," she said with a small laugh. He chuckled, light, soft, genuine. Something about that sound made her heart flutter. They talked for almost an hour that night. Little things at first: work, the cold, the smell of rain in the city, childhood memories. He never mentioned family, money, or his life outside the streets. Just small, simple things. Amelia noticed his posture, the way he chose his words, the gentleness in his tone. There was something refined about him, educated even, but she didn't care. She liked him as he was, someone human, quiet, and kind. Over the following weeks, their Friday meetings became a quiet routine. She would take the long walk home, and he would be waiting. Sometimes he brought coffee he found somewhere. Sometimes she brought sandwiches. Sometimes they just sat in silence. But the more time they spent together, the more they learned about each other. She told him about the hospital, about the long hours, the tired patients and worried parents, and about her dream of someday opening a pediatric clinic that could help kids who had nothing. He listened, really listened, and every time she spoke, she noticed how carefully he nodded, how he made her feel like her words mattered. And he began sharing little things too, small stories about his childhood in London, the books he loved, the streets he walked when he needed to think. Not enough to give away who he really was, but enough to show her he was more than the man sitting under the bridge. One night, after a particularly difficult shift, she slumped beside him and sighed. "Long day?" he asked. "Long week," she admitted. "Parents yelling, kids crying, not enough staff. I feel like I'm running on fumes." Gray looked at her, serious. "You take care of so many people, but who takes care of you?" She wasn't expecting the question. "No one, I guess. That's adulthood. You deserve someone who checks on you too," he said quietly. Her throat tightened. Rarely had anyone noticed her exhaustion or cared. She looked at him, really looked at him, and whispered, "You check on me." Gray's eyes softened. "Because you matter." His words hit her deeper than she expected. She didn't understand why a stranger's kindness felt like warmth on a freezing night, but it did. A few weeks later, a cold rainstorm caught her on her way home. She hurried under the bridge, shivering, only to find Gray waiting. He was soaked, hair plastered to his forehead, jacket clinging to him. "You're going to catch a cold," she scolded gently. "I'm fine," he said, teeth chattering slightly. "No, you're freezing." She removed her hoodie and draped it over his shoulders. He looked at her, stunned. "You're going to get wet yourself," he said. "I'm already wet," she teased. "You need it more." He held the fabric in his hands as if it were precious. "No one's ever done that for me," he whispered. Amelia touched his arm gently. "I see you, Gray." He swallowed hard. "Thank you." By this point, if you're loving this story, take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell to follow Amelia and Gray. Give this video a like to support more romantic stories like this. As the weeks passed, their bond grew stronger. Amelia began looking forward to Fridays, not just because of the company, but because with Gray, she felt safe, seen, and understood in a way she never had before. Gray, in turn, was discovering the warmth of genuine connection, something no wealth, no empire, no luxury could ever buy. Every conversation, every shared laugh, every quiet moment sitting side by side under that bridge, made them feel closer. One evening, Amelia noticed something in Gray's gaze, a mix of something soft and something heavy, like he was holding back a secret. She didn't press him, she didn't need to. His company, his gentle presence, was enough for her. And he, too, felt a growing fear that he would have to eventually tell her the truth. That one day, she might see the real Grayson Locke, billionaire, media ghost, owner of skyscrapers, and wonder if the man she had come to care for was just an illusion. But for now, they existed in this little bubble of quiet simplicity. Gray would bring little things he found, a coffee cup, a croissant someone left behind, a folded newspaper, and Amelia would smile, talk, laugh, and share a slice of her day. They were building something real, simple, and tender, without complications, without pretenses. Every Friday, Amelia felt lighter, happier. Every Friday, Gray felt alive, more human, more connected than he had in years. And that feeling, that quiet, warm, comforting feeling, was slowly growing into something neither of them wanted to admit, even to themselves. The night Amelia brought her sketchpad under the bridge, Gray watched her doodle quietly, smiling when she laughed at her own imperfect lines. "You have a way of seeing the world differently," he said softly. She paused, pen hovering over paper. "Maybe," she said. "Or maybe I'm just seeing it the way I want to." He nodded thoughtfully. "I like that. It's real." That word, real, made her look at him. She realized that under all the dirt and worn clothes, he was more real than anyone she had ever met. Not his wealth, not his reputation, nothing else mattered. Just Gray. And she wanted to see him, just him, more than anything. Amelia couldn't stop thinking about Gray, even on her busiest days at the hospital. His quiet presence lingered in her mind, the way he had looked at her that night in the rain, soaked but still thoughtful, the way he listened so intently as if every word she said mattered. She caught herself smiling at the memory, a warmth spreading through her chest that had nothing to do with the coffee in her hand. Every Friday, she had looked forward to seeing him, and now the anticipation had stretched into the weekdays, filling her thoughts with curiosity and gentle longing. Gray, too, found himself waiting for Fridays with a heart he hadn't realized was capable of feeling this much. Every day at his penthouse, surrounded by wealth and luxury that should have felt fulfilling, felt strangely empty without her. Her presence, her kindness, her laughter, simple things he had never valued until now, were what he craved the most. And it terrified him. Gray had lived a life of control. He owned companies, buildings, and properties, and people were always chasing something from him. Money, favors, access. But with Amelia, there was none of that. He felt vulnerable, exposed in ways he hadn't allowed himself in years. And he loved it. Yet he knew the truth about his life couldn't stay hidden forever. He wasn't just Gray under the bridge. He was Grayson Locke, billionaire, businessman, someone whose name alone commanded attention, and he feared that revealing it would shatter the fragile, genuine connection they had built. Friday evening came again, as it always did, and Amelia made her way under the bridge, umbrella in hand, shivering slightly in the cool air. She found Gray leaning against a pillar, hands tucked in his pockets, head slightly bowed. When he looked up and saw her, his face lit with a smile that made her stomach flutter. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," he replied, his voice carrying a warmth that made the rain seem less harsh. "You didn't have to walk here in this weather," he said. "It's just a little rain," she said, shrugging. "I walk in worse." He laughed softly, the sound gentle, reassuring. "You're tougher than you look." They walked slowly together along the damp pavement, sharing coffee she had grabbed from a nearby cafe. They talked about everything and nothing, letting the rhythm of the city and the rain create a space where the outside world didn't exist. Amelia felt herself relaxing more than she had in weeks. With him, it was easy to breathe. He was patient, kind, attentive, and when he smiled at her, it wasn't a smile filled with expectation, it was just for her. "I like how you see the world," Gray said quietly, watching her stir her coffee. "Everything seems more vibrant when you talk about it." Amelia blinked at him, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. "I just notice things," she said. "I notice people, their struggles, their little victories, like yours." He looked down at his hands for a moment before meeting her eyes. "My struggles aren't exactly like most people's," he said softly. "But it means a lot that you see me as just me, not the image everyone else sees." Amelia reached out, brushing her hand lightly against his arm. "That's all I want, Gray. Just you." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of raindrops falling harder, a sudden downpour soaking the street around them. Amelia pulled her jacket tighter, laughing at the absurdity of their soaked clothing, and Gray chuckled too, the warmth of their laughter mingling with the cool rain. "You know," she said, shaking her hair out, "there's something freeing about walking in the rain like this. No one cares who we are, what we do, or what we own." He looked at her, his eyes softening. "Exactly," he whispered. "It's just us, and it feels perfect." By the time the rain stopped, they were drenched but smiling, a quiet intimacy settling between them that neither had fully acknowledged but both felt. Gray walked her part of the way home, their hands brushing lightly, the tension growing with each step. When they reached the corner near her building, he paused, his gaze holding hers. "I wish this moment could last forever," he said softly. Amelia's heart skipped a beat. "Me too," she whispered. She wanted to say more, to reach out and tell him exactly how she felt, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she offered a small smile and stepped inside her building. That night, lying in bed, Amelia couldn't stop thinking about him. She thought about the warmth of his hand, the kindness in his eyes, and the way he made her feel like she mattered. She didn't realize she had already begun falling for him, slowly, gently, like the tide pulling her in. Gray, meanwhile, stood in his penthouse, staring out at the city skyline, the lights twinkling like stars beneath him. He felt the same pull, the same longing, and for the first time in years, he allowed himself to hope that maybe, just maybe, Amelia could see him for who he truly was and still choose to stay. The following Friday, he decided to do something different. Instead of waiting under the bridge, he prepared a small surprise for her. He had learned that she loved flowers, sunflowers specifically, for their bright and unwavering cheer. He placed a small bouquet carefully in a paper bag, along with a handwritten note that simply read, "For the person who makes the rain feel warm." When Amelia arrived, she was surprised to see him standing there with the flowers, drenched but smiling. "For me?" she asked, her eyes wide. "For you," he said softly, offering the bouquet. She took it, feeling a warmth spreading through her chest. "You didn't have to," she said, touched by the gesture. "I wanted to," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. That day, they walked together, the bouquet swinging lightly between them, talking and laughing like they had known each other forever. Amelia felt lighter, happier, and Gray felt a joy he hadn't known in years. The simplicity of it, the small act of kindness, the shared smiles, the quiet presence of someone who truly cared, was more intoxicating than any luxury he had ever owned. As the weeks passed, their connection deepened. They shared stories, secrets, and dreams. Amelia talked about opening her pediatric clinic, and Gray shared memories from his childhood, though carefully omitting his true identity. They confided in each other in ways they hadn't confided in anyone else. Each Friday became a cherished ritual, a space where they could simply be themselves. And with every meeting, the tension between them grew, not a dangerous tension, but a quiet, lingering desire, a mutual recognition that what they had was special, rare, and fragile. One evening, Gray reached out, gently brushing a strand of wet hair from Amelia's face. She froze, her heart hammering. "Gray," she whispered. He leaned just slightly closer, his eyes searching hers for permission, for a sign that she felt the same. Amelia felt warmth flood her cheeks, and in that silent moment, words were unnecessary. They understood each other perfectly. That connection, that unspoken intimacy, was growing into something undeniable. If you're enjoying Amelia and Gray's story, remember to subscribe and hit the bell to follow every moment of their romance. Give this video a like and comment your favorite part to support more heartfelt stories. As the nights grew colder, Gray started bringing small gestures of care, a blanket when she shivered, a thermos of tea, a warm scarf he claimed he found somewhere. Amelia noticed, smiled, and felt her heart swell with affection. The bond between them was strengthening, quiet yet powerful. They laughed together, shared secrets, and slowly, without either realizing, fell deeper for each other. Gray wrestled with the secret he was keeping, the truth of his identity, while Amelia fell for the man she knew, not the man he was hiding. And the tension of that unspoken truth added a gentle, intoxicating pull between them, making every Friday feel like a precious gift. Amelia looked at him, curious, sensing a depth he hadn't shared. "You're more than you show," she said softly. He smiled faintly. "And you make me want to be more, without the masks," he admitted. Their connection deepened further with each encounter. They shared small victories, frustrations, dreams, and fears. They laughed at silly things, held each other close in moments of quiet comfort, and slowly, without either realizing, built a trust that neither had given to anyone before. Gray still wrestled with the secret of his true identity, but the more he spent time with Amelia, the more he feared losing her. Her authenticity, her kindness, and the way she saw him for who he was rather than what he had changed something fundamental inside him. If you're loving Amelia and Gray's story, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to follow their journey. Give this story a like and share your thoughts in the comments. It keeps more romantic stories coming. One night, Gray finally let himself be completely vulnerable. They were sitting side by side, watching the city lights reflecting in the puddles beneath the bridge. "I like you," he said simply, his voice low. Amelia turned to him, her heart skipping a beat. "I like you too," she whispered. The words were simple, but the weight behind them was immense. They sat there, holding hands, letting the warmth of each other's presence fill the space between them. It was a turning point, a quiet acknowledgement of feelings neither had dared to fully admit before. As the days passed, their Fridays became more than a routine, they were sacred. Gray would notice the smallest details: how Amelia tucked her hair behind her ear, how she smiled when she laughed, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her dreams. Amelia, in turn, noticed the gentleness in his gestures, the patience in his conversations, and the quiet strength he carried beneath his casual exterior. They began to share small, intimate moments: a hand held a little longer, a brush of the arm, leaning slightly closer when they walked. Each moment was carefully savored, a slow-building intimacy that neither rushed nor forced, but let grow naturally. One chilly evening, Gray surprised Amelia with a small blanket he had carried. "You'll need this," he said, draping it around her shoulders. She smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. "You didn't have to," she said. "I wanted to," he replied softly. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the city, feeling the quiet thrill of closeness. The simple act spoke volumes, and Amelia felt her feelings deepen, realizing that what she had with Gray was special, rare, and worth every moment of waiting. With each encounter, Gray felt himself falling more, the pull of his feelings growing stronger. Yet, the secret of his real identity loomed in the background, a silent weight he hadn't shared. Every smile from Amelia, every soft word, every laugh made him cherish what they had, but also made him fear the day the truth might surface. He didn't want to lose her, not after finding someone who saw him as Gray, the man he longed to be, rather than Grayson Locke, the billionaire everyone expected him to be. Amelia, unaware of the truth, continued to fall in love with the man she knew, drawn to his gentleness, his attentiveness, and the simple, profound way he made her feel seen. The bond they shared grew stronger with every shared coffee, every quiet conversation, every small act of care. Slowly, inevitably, their hearts were intertwining, creating something neither of them had expected, something that promised love, connection, and the kind of intimacy that could last a lifetime. Fridays had become sacred for Amelia and Gray. Every meeting, every small ritual, felt essential, like the world itself slowed to allow them these moments together. But even as they laughed, walked, and shared stories, Gray carried the secret of his life heavier than ever. He had tried to keep it buried, hidden behind his worn jacket and casual demeanor, but the truth was a shadow following him wherever he went. Amelia didn't know, and he feared what would happen when she eventually did. One evening, Amelia arrived under the bridge with a tired smile and a small box of pastries from the bakery she loved. Gray's eyes lit up when he saw her. "You brought those for me?" he asked, grinning. "Of course," she replied. "You've been working so hard, I thought you deserved a treat." He accepted the box gently, the gesture simple, yet the affection in it made his chest tighten. "You're too kind," he said softly. "Not kind, just thoughtful," she corrected, her voice warm. He smiled, brushing a damp strand of hair from her forehead. "I like thoughtful," he murmured. As they walked along the familiar streets, sharing pastries and sipping coffee, Amelia felt a strange sense of comfort. Gray had become more than a friend, more than someone she looked forward to seeing. He had become a part of her life, a constant in the chaos of her demanding job. She found herself thinking about him on days they didn't meet, imagining his smile, the way he made her feel safe, seen, and understood. Gray, meanwhile, watched her carefully. Every laugh, every smile, every little movement reminded him of how much he wanted to be honest with her. But fear held him back. Fear that the revelation of who he truly was would change everything. After all, Amelia didn't need a billionaire, she needed Gray, the man she had grown to love, simple, kind, genuine Gray. How could he tell her that he was also Grayson Locke, the name that carried power, wealth, and expectation, without risking the bond they had built? Weeks passed, and their connection deepened. They shared quiet walks in the park, late-night talks under streetlights, and gentle moments where hands brushed and hearts spoke without words. Amelia loved Gray's presence, his attentiveness, and the way he made the ordinary feel extraordinary. Gray loved how Amelia looked at him, how her laughter made him feel alive, and how every small gesture of care from her seemed like a lifeline in a world that often demanded everything but gave little in return. One evening, as they sat on the steps under the bridge, Gray finally decided he couldn't wait any longer. The weight of his secret was pressing too heavily, and the fear of losing her over dishonesty outweighed the fear of revealing the truth. He took a deep breath, holding her hand in his, feeling the warmth of her skin against his. "Amelia," he began, his voice low, trembling slightly. She looked at him, sensing the seriousness in his tone. "What is it, Gray?" she asked softly, her heart picking up pace. He hesitated, searching her eyes for a sign of patience, of understanding. "There's something I need to tell you," he said finally. "Something about me, about who I really am." Amelia's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't pull away. She simply nodded, silently encouraging him to continue. Gray swallowed hard. "I'm not just Gray. I'm Grayson Locke. I own businesses, buildings, media outlets. I'm a billionaire." The words felt heavy as they left his mouth, yet liberating. He searched her face, unsure of what she would think, how she would react. Amelia was silent for a long moment. She blinked, processing the revelation. "You're a billionaire?" she whispered. Gray nodded, his hand tightening around hers. "I wanted to tell you sooner," he admitted. "I wanted to, but I didn't want this to change anything between us. I wanted you to know me, the real me, not the name or the money." Amelia looked at him, emotions swirling, shock, confusion, but also an undercurrent of warmth. She thought about the man she had come to care for, the one who had been there for her every Friday, the one who had made her laugh, comforted her, and slowly captured her heart. Could she separate him from the wealth he had hidden? Could she love him for Gray, not Grayson Locke? Her fingers brushed his cheek. "Gray," she said softly, "I don't care about your money or your name. I care about you. The person who's been sitting here with me, making me feel alive. That's who I fell for." Gray's chest tightened with relief, and he pulled her into a gentle embrace. "You don't know how long I've wanted to hear that," he whispered, resting his forehead against hers. They held each other, letting the silence speak volumes, letting their hearts reaffirm what their words could only begin to express. From that night onward, things changed subtly but beautifully. Gray still maintained aspects of his billionaire life, but now Amelia was part of it. Fully aware, fully accepted, fully included. Their Fridays became even more special, no longer just a secret refuge but a bridge between two worlds, one of simplicity and genuine human connection, and one of wealth, power, and influence. But it didn't matter. They had each other, and that was everything. They celebrated small victories together. Amelia's first weekend off after months of exhausting hospital shifts, Gray successfully finalizing a major deal, quiet Sunday mornings sharing breakfast on a modest bench in a city park, simply enjoying each other's company. The romance deepened naturally, their love rooted in trust, respect, and shared vulnerability. Gray would brush Amelia's hair behind her ear, hold her hand a little longer than necessary, and whisper things that made her cheeks flush. Amelia, in turn, would laugh softly at his jokes, lean into his shoulder, and remind him that his presence was all she needed. One night, sitting under the bridge wrapped in a warm blanket, Gray looked at Amelia and said, "You've changed my life, Amelia. You've made me realize that there's more to happiness than power and money. You've shown me what it feels like to be loved for who I am, not what I have." Amelia's heart swelled, and she leaned closer, resting her head against his chest. And you've shown me that it's okay to trust, to care, to let someone in," she whispered. They stayed there, holding each other, letting the city's soft lights and gentle night sounds frame their moment. As the weeks went on, their love became undeniable. They shared quiet dinners, spontaneous walks, laughter, and whispered dreams of a future together. Amelia began to imagine a life where they could be together without secrets, where trust and love were enough to build a foundation strong enough to last. Gray, for his part, cherished every moment, knowing that he had found someone rare, someone genuine, kind, and unwavering in her affection. And slowly, they allowed themselves to dream, to hope, to envision a future that was bright, filled with love and possibility. If you're enjoying Amelia and Gray's journey, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell, and like this story. Share your thoughts in the comments to support more heartwarming billionaire romances. The turning point came one chilly Friday when Gray decided to take Amelia to a small, quiet rooftop garden he owned, away from the city's noise. "I wanted to show you something," he said, leading her through the iron gate. The space was intimate, filled with flowers, soft lights, and a bench overlooking the skyline. Amelia gasped softly, overwhelmed by the beauty and thoughtfulness. "Gray, this is amazing," she said, her eyes glistening. He smiled, taking her hands in his. "It's nothing compared to what I feel when I'm with you," he said. Her cheeks warmed, and she leaned into him, feeling the safety, the warmth, the depth of their connection. Gray's confession, Amelia's acceptance, and the quiet intimacy of their moments built a foundation that neither wealth nor fame could disrupt. Their love was simple, genuine, and powerful, rooted in shared experience, trust, and vulnerability. They laughed, they comforted, they dreamed, and in the end, they found that happiness wasn't about grand gestures or material wealth. It was about being seen, being cared for, and being loved for exactly who you were. Their story continued, pure and unbroken, a testament to the power of slow-burning love and the beauty of trust. Gray and Amelia proved that sometimes, the most extraordinary romances are the ones built on small gestures, quiet moments, and unwavering devotion. Amelia never thought that meeting a man under a rainy bridge could change her life. Yet here she was, walking beside Gray through the quiet streets, hand in hand, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt in years. Each Friday had become a gift, a space where the world's noise and stress faded away, leaving only the two of them. And now, knowing the truth about Gray's identity, their connection felt even stronger. Gray, walking beside her, felt lighter than he had in a long time. He had revealed his secret, and Amelia had accepted him fully, without hesitation or doubt. There was a freedom in honesty, a joy in knowing that the woman he loved him for who he truly was. For once, he didn't have to hide behind facades or wealth. He could be Gray, the man she had come to care for deeply, and still hold her hand, make her laugh, and share quiet moments of intimacy. They reached a small park, their favorite spot, where the trees swayed gently in the evening breeze. Amelia leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. "I can't believe how much my life has changed in just a few months," she whispered. "I never expected any of this." Gray wrapped his arm around her, holding her close. "Neither did I," he admitted. "But I'm grateful every day that you're here." Amelia smiled, feeling her heart swell. "You've made me feel safe, seen, loved. And I never thought I'd feel that way again." Gray kissed the top of her head softly. "You deserve it. You deserve all of it." In the weeks that followed, their love grew stronger and steadier. They shared lazy mornings with warm coffee, spontaneous walks in the city, and quiet evenings on rooftops overlooking the skyline. Gray would surprise her with little gestures, flowers, chocolates, notes tucked in her bag, while Amelia delighted in cooking simple meals, laughing at his jokes, and sharing stories from her day. Each moment reinforced the bond they had built, a love founded not on wealth or appearances, but on mutual respect, kindness, and devotion. One Friday evening, Gray led Amelia to a secluded spot he had discovered in the city, a small terrace garden hidden between two buildings. The space was bathed in soft lights, filled with flowers, and smelled faintly of jasmine and roses. Amelia gasped softly, overwhelmed by the thoughtfulness. "Gray, this is beautiful," she said, her eyes shimmering with emotion. He smiled, holding her hands gently. "It's beautiful because you're here," he said. "I wanted to create a space that felt as special as you are to me." Amelia felt tears prick at her eyes. "You always know how to make ordinary moments unforgettable," she whispered. They sat together on a bench, the city skyline glittering behind them, holding hands and sharing quiet conversation. Gray looked into her eyes, his voice low and sincere. "Amelia, I want you to know something. I don't just want these moments. I want every day with you. I want a future where we build a life together, where honesty, love, and trust guide us. I want you completely." Amelia felt her heart leap. "Gray, I want the same," she said softly, leaning into him. "I want to be with you through everything. No matter what comes next, I want us." Gray pulled her close, their foreheads touching, breathing in the warmth of her presence. "Then we'll have it," he whispered. If you're loving Amelia and Gray's journey, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell, and give this story a like. Share your favorite moment in the comments to support more romantic stories like this. The following weeks were filled with shared dreams and quiet happiness. Gray introduced Amelia to parts of his life she had never imagined: art galleries, private gardens, small weekend retreats, but always in a way that felt natural, never overwhelming. He ensured she felt comfortable, loved, and appreciated, emphasizing that nothing about their relationship depended on wealth or status. Amelia embraced this new world with him, finding joy in the little things: a warm cup of tea on a chilly morning, a walk hand in hand through quiet streets, laughter that echoed through empty halls. Gray and Amelia's love grew in the small moments: the shared glances, gentle touches, whispered confessions, and the quiet reassurance that they had each other. Each Friday remained their sacred time, even as other days blurred into the routine of life. Their love wasn't flashy or performative, it was real, grounded in understanding, respect, and deep affection. Amelia began to feel confident and secure, knowing that Gray's heart was wholly hers, just as he knew hers was wholly his. One evening, Gray prepared a small picnic on a rooftop terrace overlooking the city. The lights twinkled like stars, and the air carried a gentle chill. Amelia wrapped herself in a blanket he had provided, smiling at the effort he had put into creating such a simple yet intimate experience. "You always know how to make ordinary moments feel magical," she whispered. Gray smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I just want you to feel special," he replied softly. "Because you are." Amelia leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. "And you make me feel safe, loved, and seen," she said. "Exactly how I've always wanted to feel," he whispered back. As months passed, their relationship deepened further. They planned small adventures together: weekend trips to quiet towns, strolls along the river, visits to art exhibits, and cozy evenings cooking dinner together. Gray learned to slow down, appreciating the simple joys he had once overlooked, while Amelia discovered the freedom of being loved unconditionally, accepted fully, and trusted completely. Their love wasn't loud or extravagant, it was enduring, steady, and quietly powerful. Eventually, Gray invited Amelia to his family estate outside the city. She had hesitated initially, nervous about stepping fully into the billionaire world she had only glimpsed. But Gray reassured her, promising that she was valued for herself, not her curiosity or her presence in his life. When they arrived, Amelia was struck by the beauty of the estate: the gardens, the warm lights, the serene atmosphere. Gray held her hand tightly. "This is our world, if you want it to be," he said softly. Amelia smiled, her heart swelling. "I want it to be ours," she replied. "All of it together." Their love story, once built under a rainy bridge with small gestures and quiet conversations, had grown into something larger: a bond that spanned worlds, grounded in honesty, trust, and affection. Amelia and Gray had discovered that love wasn't about wealth or appearances, but about being seen, understood, and cherished for who you truly are. The final Friday came with the same rhythm as all the others. Amelia arrived with a small smile, carrying a bouquet of wildflowers she had picked herself. Gray greeted her with a grin, taking the flowers gently. "You always know how to make me happy," he said softly. "You make it easy," Amelia replied, leaning into his side. They sat together, talking, laughing, and enjoying the city around them. When the night fell and the skyline glittered, Gray pulled her close. "Amelia, I love you," he whispered, his voice steady, full of certainty. Amelia's eyes shone with tears of happiness. "I love you too, Gray. Always." They kissed softly, a gentle affirmation of a love that had grown, endured, and finally, fully blossomed. If you've enjoyed this billionaire romance, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and give a like. Share your favorite moment, and help bring more heartfelt stories to life. From that night onward, every day was a continuation of their love story, filled with trust, laughter, gentle care, and unwavering support. Gray and Amelia had found in each other what they had longed for, a love that was honest, enduring, and true. And under the city lights, wrapped in each other's warmth, they knew that together, they could face anything, building a life filled with love, happiness, and the quiet magic of shared hearts.